What is your passion? What is your passion? What do you love to do? What is your passion? What do you love to do? If you could do anything in the world, you could be anything in the world, what would you love to do? What is your passion? We live once. There'll never be another you. There never was another you. There is another you in the world today in this genetic form. This is it. It's not a mental rehearsal. One life. When you think about how long we live in the world compared to the age of the world, it's almost like a dot in the horizon. So life passes by really, really fast. And I say to you, what is your passion? What do you love to do? If you could do anything you want to do, what do you love to do? If you haven't got a pen and paper, grab a pen and paper. We're going to keep tonight really interactive. Get yourself a pen and paper. I'll wait a moment. Get a pen and paper. You're not accountable for anything you don't want to do. Yet, in saying that, you'll get a lot more out of tonight if you get a pen and paper and follow some exercises we're covering tonight. It'll be really interactive seminar this evening. You're going to really enjoy it. Powerful interactive seminar you're going to really enjoy. Over many, many years, I've used my background in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and the concept of modeling excellence to study people who are, in the eyes of society, successful in business. Over many, many years, I studied hundreds of people, if not thousands, and worked out what were they doing different to what I was when I first went to business, and what are they doing different to people who are struggling in business today. And over time, I learned some key principles I'm going to share with you this evening to elevate the businesses I run and help other people achieve business success in their field. Some of the principles I've taken out of one of my best-selling books, a bit of a plug for the book, Excel at Business. And one of the reasons for writing Excel at Business is I, if you don't already know, used to work as a performance coach in football and was very successful. When I ventured out of that field, I was a fantastic coach. We'll talk about it a bit more this evening. Yet the principles of succeeding in the business arena were different. So you can be the best at what you do in the world. If you haven't got a business mind, you won't get very far. Passion alone and love for what you do will only take you so far. You also need to have a cutting-edge strategy, which we're going to cover this evening. A very short space of time to cover a lot of information. So I urge you to grab a pen and take as many pointers as you want from this evening. You take one thing away from this evening that works for you, then it's job done. That's the key. The difference that makes the difference is the key going forward. When you think about it, we spend near enough 90,000 or so hours of our waking life working. From 20 years of age, roughly when we start working, not younger, till 65, if you're lucky these days to retire at 65, spending a huge proportion of our time working. So it makes sense to find your passion. Now I know it's idealistic, I know we've got bills to pay, families to support, I'm well aware of that, yet in saying that, decisions and how we spend our time are key, and having a strategy is key. So tonight isn't about motivating anybody to do anything that they want to do, or motivating anyone to go away and feel motivated. It's give you some strategies that you're not accountable to use, you decide, and you make your own mind up if they work for you, which is key. But it makes sense to me to live a life according to what you love to do. Live based on what you love to do. And through my own experience in life, when I worked in football full-time, whilst I loved working in the field, fantastic lifestyle, I really enjoyed it, I travelled the world, loved it, really amazing, I decided at a certain point in my own life, is this going to be it for me? And whilst I could have happily carried on doing what I did, I felt I want to leave a legacy for other people when I'm long gone, to enjoy and flourish. And I felt that I'd gone as far as I wanted to go in the game, whilst I still work as a consultant in the game and still have my stable of players that I consult every so often. I believe that life is short. I believe that you've only got one shot at it, and I felt it was time to make a change. Hence, I moved away and do what I do now. I enjoy going into doing talks and seminars, writing books, doing stuff like radio, talking in colleges and schools, and motivating people to get the best out of them in any area of life, whether it be therapy, right through to business success. And you've got to make decisions in life. And you might be saying, well, it's easy for you, Jim. You had a career in football, you had a platform to work with in business. Well, I did to a certain degree, but it didn't take a long time for me to go into business and realise that being a fantastic coach will only get you so far, and loving what you do will only get you so far. You need strategy. So I'd gone to the brink of bankruptcy the first time I went into business and realised that I needed to learn some key principles I would take on board. You don't operate as a business, you won't get very far, you won't leave your passion. So I'm going to talk about that this evening as we go along, because we're all passionate about what we do, yet in saying that, passion will only take you so far. The key is to have cutting edge strategy, which I'll go into in more detail throughout the evening. Before we begin, I want to ask you a question. To keep pen and paper. The question is, we've got 90,000 hours that we're going to work in a working life. Now, focus on what do you want? What do you want? What is it that you want from a career or work or job? What do you want? What's important to you? And I want you to get a pen and paper and write down as many things that you want from a career or a job. I mentioned myself. What I wanted towards the end of my career in football as a performance coach is to make a huge difference. So the first thing I did was leave the game and start working with young people in care and secure unit. People said, "You're crazy, Jim, you worked so hard to get so far in football." I came from very humble beginnings, very poor background. I grew up in a very poor family, very working class. And when my dad got injured at work, my mum was ill. At 14 years of age, I was having to pick up odd jobs here and there whilst doing my schooling to survive. So it was pretty tough, and we were probably bordering homeless at certain points in my teenage years, struggling to pay the bills. So I knew, and I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to struggle. It's tough. I know what it's like to struggle. I grew up in a poor environment, and it wasn't easy. There were certain times we'd go days without eating a proper meal, going to school without eating, no lunch. I know what it's like not to have anything. I can assure you that. And whilst I understand there's people who've got it worse off than what I had, it was pretty tough going. And that's what motivated me to do what I do now. Hence I decided to leave behind a fruitful career in the game as a performance coach, and I was working my way up in the game, yet I felt that there's a bigger picture in life. I want to make a massive difference. So one of my key values, my drivers, was to make a difference. And I went out and I did that, and I felt to make a bigger difference, I'd start a business. And in starting that business, I had some big realizations that being passionate about loving what you do is great, and it'll take you so far, but I needed cutting edge strategies. And I had to learn the hard way. So I'm sharing with you experience. I'm being open and honest with you, because that's the way I work. If you come to a seminar or read my books, you know that's the way I work. I speak from here, yet in saying that, I know that you have to operate from here as well to help people as well. So I ask you the question, write down, what do you want? Do you want to make a difference? Do you want to leave a legacy? What do you want? Life is not forever. We're not going to go on. Sorry to break the bad news on a beautiful summer evening over here in the UK. Yet in saying that, life is not forever. It's not infinite time. So it's really important, I believe, to find what drives you. And what kept me going through the hard times when I went into business was the fact that I knew getting up in the morning, I was doing what I love to do. But it's not as easy as that. You've got a family, I've got a family. It's not easy. You've got to provide for them, and it's not easy. So I found myself doing other work to supplement and grow the business. And it was the best lesson I could have ever learned. Because I learned a lot, and I believe experience counts for a lot. You don't have to learn the hard way. You can learn through doing what I eventually did, use my NLP skill set to model people who were successful and find out what they will do. So I ask you to write down, what do you want from your career? What do you want? Do you want to make a difference or leave a legacy? Do you want to make a big impact in the world? Do you want to be able to have more free time to spend with family? Do you want to make your mark on the world? What drives you? Do you want to be financially really, really successful? When we say financial success, have you got a ballpark figure what you want? What do you want? And write down at least 10 things that drive you. 10 in NLP world, what we call values, a value being what's important to you, and write down. So write them down. Now you can come back to this because we're going to go through a seminar. I've got a very small amount of time to cover what I normally do in a couple of days, in roughly an hour this evening, so you can always come back if you want to. It'll be on YouTube and on Ustream for you to come back to, if you wish. Now write down 10 things. Now having done that, what I'd like you to do is make a decision. Now you can change it as you go along. In a hierarchy of 1 to 5, which one, if you were starting a new job or career tomorrow, would you have to have? What would you have to have? What's a key value that you would have to have? What's a must-have? What's key? For me, one of my core drivers when I used to make that transition from working performance coaching football to doing what I do now was I wanted to make a huge difference. It was really important to me. I didn't want to live for 70 years, I wanted to live for 1 billion years. Metaphorically speaking, I wanted to make a massive difference. I know young people who'd been through what I'd been through as a young person, living in poverty, as close as you can be to poverty in modern day Australia, southwest Sydney, very working class area as it was known at the time. A poor Southern Italian migrant family with no education, no skills, sending a youngster out to a very challenging environment, school, not easy, making his way as I was, and it was tough. Very, very challenging. And you throw in other challenges I had in the mix-up, it wasn't easy. It was not easy by the slightest. Many, many challenges, which I won't go into, having severe harassment as a child and being bullied and all sorts of stuff that would go on at that period of my life. It was not easy. Yet, in saying that, I found my outlet, and my outlet was sport. If I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be today, and I pursued a career in sport and traveled the world and lived an amazing life. A life that you could only dream of, considering where I came from. It was a miracle. A long shot. So I felt obliged to give something back. I felt an obligation, and that was one of the things that really motivated me, the obligation to give young people a chance. Because I remember one day coming home from school, being very, very poor and not eating proper food, lucky to have anything to eat, any money, nothing like that. And I came home one day and I'd gone through a very difficult day. It was a tough day, as you do at school. It wasn't easy, and I remember thinking that I can't take this no more. Picking up odd jobs here and there to supplement my income, having troubles and tribulations at school, not adapting to an education system that is long overdue for an overhaul, and teachers that you couldn't really connect to in that way. No connection there. The academic system, which I won't go into too much detail tonight, needs an overhaul. We need to bring in, that's not disrespect to teachers, I'm a teacher myself, I've done my teacher training myself. I feel that what we need to do is introduce stuff like mindfulness, entrepreneurship, meditation, general emotional coping strategies. Because I know from my own experience of suffering extreme poverty, not having a lot, no parents working, having to pick up odd jobs here and there, going to school tired, getting bullied at time, throw in the mix of that. My parents, when they migrated to Australia, was still coming through the white Australia transition. So that being relatively dark, it still wasn't what it was today. You know, there was also the racial element too. So it was constant, and that was not by the other students, by the way, it was by the teachers too in certain situations. So I don't hold no grudges, things have moved on, it's changed now in the world we live in, but that's what it was. For me, growing up, it wasn't easy. So I felt that whilst I was living this fantastic life that I'd made for myself in the world of football as a performance coach, I felt that there was something more. So my values and my drivers had shifted. So I say to you, what drives you? Whilst we won't go into too much detail about how to elicit values and what to do, I've got material you can read if you want to. I'll send it out to you for free. My passion is to help people, and you can read it and you can make your own mind up. But for now, I truly believe you're not living your values, you're not doing what drives you, you're not going to be very happy. Whilst I was fulfilling some of my values on a hierarchy of 1 to 5, with 5 one and two being the most significant drivers, I felt that there was something missing somewhere. I'd gone through an evolutionary process in my own mind and felt it was time to give back. And whilst people thought I was crazy, doing what you're doing, you work so hard to get so high in the game, working at a professional level, why are you just walking away to work with young people in secure and care home for less money, obviously a lot less money, and all the rest of it, what you're doing. I just needed to get back in tune with myself. And by doing that, I realized that I could reach a lot more people doing the speaking because I was getting good results in that industry, helping young people. I felt I want to reach many people across a broad range of areas, doing what I do now. So it's not about me, it's about you. So work out what's the most important thing to you. And once you put a hierarchy of 5, you can always change it as you want, as you go along. Are you living your values in your career at the moment? Are you doing what you want to do? Are you going into work feeling fulfilled? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel a spring in your step? I have days, don't get me wrong, when it's tough. I've got to drag myself out of bed because it's tough, it's not easy, but they're very few and far in between. Most of the time I get up very early, a spring in my step, go for a walk, and I feel motivated, and I love what I do, even through the tough times, even through the times that I couldn't work out how I was going to make a living out doing what I did. I just knew somewhere along the line I would work it out. So that's really important. No successful person in business, at least that I've studied, has been smooth sailing all the way. So work out what drives you. What are the key? What are the 5 most important things to you in your career? And you're living those. Or you might have been living those like I was in the world of football, but times change. Now, whether you're in business or not in business, whatever the situation is in your life, I don't know. I'm sure you'll learn, if not reinforce some of your learning, or maybe pick up a few things along the way. But it just takes one piece of information, like a piece of information that changed my life, that could be a difference for you. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers. I certainly don't have all the answers. I have some answers, but what I will say I do have is a lot of experience, through personal experience, and also doing this skill set for many, many years and helping other people achieve their goals and dreams, which I've made a life in doing. Now, it's really important for me, one of my other key drivers, helping people. Now, what motivates you? What really motivates you? What drives you? We talked about that very briefly, but let's go into a bit more detail. What really motivates you? What's at the core? What drives you? Take a moment to think, what drives you? My fuel that burns the fire was knowing that if one person takes one thing away from me doing what I do, the reason I do these Ustreams, the iTunes and the books I write, the main fundamental reason for doing what I do is I believe if someone reads it who was in the place I was at a certain time in my life, that a book and a seminar really helped me kickstart my life many, many years ago when I was a teenager, then I've done my job. And I'm sure over many years I've helped more than one people. I've helped many, many people, thousands of people, if not even more, around the world. And that's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me. Because in the end, finance, we all need money to live, of course, and it's really important. I'm not suggesting anyone work for free and you have your own personal financial goals. Yet in saying that, you can only live under one roof, drive one car, eat so many meals a day. And I believe you've got to have a real fuel that burns the fire. So when I get up in the morning and I drive to London at 3 o'clock in the morning, I've got radio opportunity. If I go to a school or if I go to a talk somewhere, and even wherever I go, whatever I do, what drives me is knowing that someone might be listening and I can make a massive difference in their life. So what really drives you? Because that's going to be the fuel that burns the fire. I say to you, come off the treadmill of life for this evening. The world is chronically agitated to lock us into this treadmill of life. You go to work, you come home, you watch TV, work, come home, eat, watch TV, and you follow a cycle. You might go to the gym, play a bit of 5-a-side football, watch a song, watch a film, and you're locked into it. And before you know it, time passes you by, and you think, what have I done with my life? The world is chronically agitated. People fill themselves with distraction. They'll go on social media for an hour a day. Not when we get social media, it's a good mechanism to make our life easier, but it's making our life harder for a lot of people, but they'll waste time, which we'll talk about doing. So come off the treadmill and have an open mind for this evening. Grab your pen if you haven't already got it. You're going to get a drink of water, a coffee or tea, and let's play ball. We're really going to share some principles this evening that can make a difference. So what I'm going to do, the way I'm going to structure this evening, if you're a coach and you're watching it, you want ideas, I'm going to structure it pretty much like a coaching session. because that way you'll get the most out of it. I'm going to cut all the theory out. I'm going to get very interactive and keep it real and keep it intense. Okay, and you can take what you want out of it. We're going to keep it like a coaching session. So if you're not a coach and you're already in business, then you'll take what you want out of it. If you're starting a business, then you'll take what you want out of it as well. But I'm going to structure it in a way that I would do if I was doing a coaching session. That's the key. You know, you see people in life, and I'm not sure if you're one of them. You might be, might not be. I've certainly been in a situation before. You kind of wish your life away. You wonder when's the next vacation. I'm sure you've seen those people on social media. They can't wait for their vacation. I can't wait to go away for 2 weeks wherever they go. Then they go away wherever they decide to go. On their vacation, they get there within the first day of going in paradise, wherever it is. They get bitten by 50 mosquitoes, and they think it's really, really hot. I've got sunburn, and they want to come home. No sooner do they get home, they come home, they go back to work and think, I'd love to be on vacation again. The key to life, it's great having a break every now and again, but the key is finding your passion, loving what you do. I love what I do. People say to me, Jim, how do you work so many hours doing what you love what you do? Don't get me wrong, the balance, family is obviously important, the most important thing to me. I'm sure it is for you too, but the key thing for me is doing what you love doing. I love inspiring people. I love doing what I do. I love helping people doing the best they can. So I say to you, find what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life again. So they say. Now there's one thing, being a good practitioner, like I mentioned earlier, I was a great coach, I won coaching awards, I did really, really well in my field. Yeah, what I found is that when I started working as a coach, I loved doing what I did, but I didn't understand business. I didn't understand that you had to put invoices in, I didn't understand cash flow, I didn't understand that websites, I didn't understand cleaning, I didn't understand health and safety, policies, procedures, all these things I didn't understand, had to get my head around. It wasn't enough being good at what I did. And what I realized is that you can be the best therapist, trainer, coach, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. If you don't understand the concept of business, you won't get very far. You won't get very far at all. Because to survive in business, and a lot of people don't survive, you need to have a business acronym. You need to be able to get connections. And you need to be able to delegate and associate with people who are good at what they do. You can't, for the life of me, and I say you can't, so I couldn't for the life of me, be getting up in the morning and sending off invoices and checking up payments and payments not coming in and not collecting payments from session. People going away. I worked in corporate sector doing long hours and great work for them, and they talked about the great work I was doing. You find yourself chasing money. It's very difficult to survive. So you've got to get policies in place. You might open a store and you might be very good at what you do, you love your product, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where you've got to get up in the morning, clean your store, do the tills, do this, do whatever, do everything but doing what you love doing. So it's good being a good practitioner is one thing, but making sure you've got a business acronym and you can associate and delegate is key. I'm going to go into more detail today about how to do that, or this evening anyway, because if you don't do that, you'll not get very far. And I speak from experience. The first time I learned how to go in business, I'd realised that, okay, you're good at what you do is one thing, fantastic, get people results. It's a formality, isn't it? You think, well, I get results for people, they improve their life, they achieve their goals, their dreams, I go into businesses, do workshops, all that sort of stuff. They do really well and really enjoy it. But in the end, the corporate world that we live in, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, by the way, to be functional and have longevity, we've got to survive. You know, really, really important. You can be the best at what you do in the world. I always use the metaphor, McDonald's, do they make the best burgers? Probably not. I wouldn't have thought so, not at least in my opinion, but they sell more than anyone because their marketing strategy. People out there can do equally, if not a better job, but the key is they don't have a marketing strategy or business acronym, which is key. Setting up your own isn't easy, by the way. It's not easy at all. I'm not here to say it's easy. I'm not here to say, okay, go out there, do your passion, and it's easy as that. I'm here to say, find your passion and then build a strategy around that. And you've got no holiday pay, you've got no sick pay, you get tied up into activities that produce no income, you work unsociable hours, it can be very emotional, draining, has massive impact on your family. You don't go to work at 9, come home at 5, sometimes you go to work and you don't go away from work for days on end. I know there's a lot of literature that's been written the last few years about doing this, doing whatever, working less hours, doing less stuff, and it's idealistic in my point of view. I think it's very far and few between. I think you've got to really love what you do, because it's going to be very challenging at certain times. And whilst it's great, you get to a level, you can maybe delegate one more, and you really got a true business when you can walk away from the business and be functional. These are the things to think about if you're going into business. And certainly I'm not trying to put anyone off going into business. It's my passion. If you're in business, then we've got a bond. If you're looking to go in business, we've got some sort of bond, but I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'll tell you what I think you need to hear. So I asked you some questions this evening before we begin and give you some strategy. I'm going to give you some strategies this evening, some core cutting edge strategies that you can take away and use, entirely up to you. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you some questions, some soul searching questions. If you're in business, you're looking to go in business, some soul searching questions. Do you know the business you're in? What business are you in? What do you do? What are you looking to do? People say to me, I want to make a difference, I want to help people, I want to be a therapist, I want to be a coach, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this other, I want to be a butcher, a baker, candlestick maker. Yeah, in saying that, do you know your business? What business are you in? I ask you the question, what business are you in? And take a moment to think about that. What business are you in? And just calm it right down, the first thing that comes into your mind. What business are you in? You need to know your business inside out. You need to know exactly the line of business you're in. What is it that you do or profess to do? How many people do you see at a networking event and you ask them, what do you do? What do you do? They're all things to all people. They set up a business as a life coach, for example, and they're all things to all people. I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. You see the literature, the website. You can't see the wood through the trees. What exactly do they do? Next time you go to a network event, ask the person that you network with what business you're in and see what the answer is. What do you do? Do you improve people's lives? Do you make a difference in people's lives? Do you improve the quality of people's lives? What do you do? What is your business? What is your business? And take a moment to think about that, because I've met a lot of people who set up in business or look to go into business, they don't even know what the business is that they're going into. What's the service they're going to provide? Who's their target market? What are they going to offer? Are they the business? Is the business a process? Is it an idea? What's the vision? These are key questions to think about, and these are key things that I've learned from successful business people. They know what their business is. I can bet if you ask people who are very successful in business in our society, they know exactly what their business is. They're very clear, and clarity is power. And what's your why? I talked about what my why was to make a massive difference. Why is key. What is your why? The fuel that burns the fire. Why do you want to go into business? What drives you? A lot of people say, I want to go in business because it's an easier life. I hear it all the time. I can spend more time with kids. I can do this. That is delusional. It honestly is. Through my experience, I've worked with many people. There's very few people who go into business, or at least build a business with the delusion of thinking that they're going to start a business and kick back. You end up working more hours you did when you work for somebody else. That's the reality. I know you're probably saying to me, but Jim, I read this book, you only got to work a few hours a week. But Jim, you tell me, people you know, you name 5 people. You name 5 people who are working a few hours a week that you know of. Name them, is what I say. And to people who write literature on working a few hours a week and kicking back, and you see them these days on your YouTubes and all that sort of stuff saying, well, I'm on this paddle boat somewhere in the Pacific. Yeah, really? Well, if you're on that paddle boat in Pacific, then why are you YouTubing for more business? For the goodness of your heart? Really? Well, I don't know, maybe you are, but what I'm saying to anybody, and what I'm saying to anybody out there, it's tough going at certain times, test the result. You look at any successful business person, read any book, and I read a lot of autobiographies on a lot of business people. Did they just wake up out of bed one morning and just a few hours a week and swan around and whatever? So I say to you, if you're going into business thinking that, okay, you're going to get to read more bedtime stories to your kids, you're going to get to spend more free time, then unless you know a business that I don't know, then I think that it's delusional. You've got to really love what you do, because there are times you've got to work more hours than you could ever imagine. And maybe one day you'll get it that way, and that's the idea for most people. Yet in saying that, one of the only ways to get it that way is to have a very clear strategy, which is key. But to get there, first of all, get a strong enough why. You've got to be willing to get up in the morning an hour before everybody else and go to bed 2 or 3 hours after everybody else to drive forward. You've got to sometimes be prepared not to go to sleep at night and work through the hours when you've got reports and stuff to bring in and paperwork to do. So you've got to have a strong enough why. You haven't got a why, you will not do anything in business. You've got to have a motivation, that fire in here, that fire in your belly, because people are going to get in your way as well. And people are going to make their business try and stop you. People are going to try because they're envious or resentment of you doing what you want to do and get in your way. And you're going to need tough resolve. You're going to need a bit of that. You're going to need some heart and dedication and fight and for what you really believe in. You're going to have a strong enough why. And will say to me, Jim, why do you do what you do? You get up 3 in the morning, sometimes you drive hours and then to do a talk, sometimes you do a talk for nothing. And the reason I do it because I've got a strong enough why. The motive is there. The motive is there. I really want to help as many people as I possibly can to achieve their dreams, and not just their dreams, just improve their functional life, especially when I work in the field of therapy. It's passion, it's helping people improve their quality of life. Knowing what I went through, and I turned it around from these skill sets is key. So I say have a strong enough why. That is the fuel that burns the fire, that keeps you going in the morning. When you're a sore knee, a sore back, or a headache, and I've been through situations in my life. I'm going to work one morning, big car accident on the motorway, bang, truck wipes me off. The following day, I went straight back in again to work, and a week after that I drove all the way to the other side of the country, 5-6 hour drive to do a talk because I wanted to be there. Strong enough why. I'm saying, Jim, have time off, you eat. No. You're not me, you're not in my world, the why. There's people waiting to hear me speak. Whether it's put one person, 1,000 people, I will go out there and give it everything I possibly can. So what's your why? Ask yourself that question. Come back to it if you need to. What's your why? Maybe you want to provide for your kids. Maybe you want to help your mum, your dad. Maybe you've got to be a breadwinner. What is your why? I know what it's like to work in a factory at 40 years of age. On the weekend, everyone else is having a good time because you want to save a bit of money to improve your life. It's that driver. What's your why? I ask you, who are you? What's your identity? How do you define who you are? Are you just a coach? Are you a trainer? Are you a therapist? Are you a business person? What are you in the business? What is your role? Are you the entrepreneur? How you define who you are drives your behaviour. Okay, I wouldn't suggest turning your business into being consumed in it, but I would suggest to be passionate about it. But how do you define who you are? Everyone who succeeds in business at the very highest level has a very clear definition of who they are. They know who they are, and they are on their own purpose, whatever you might call it. They have a very strong sense of purpose, a very strong sense of identity. They're very clear about who they are and what their role is in the business, and they're very happy and prepared to give other people the opportunity to take certain things away and do them. I've seen people in business who are almost control freak. They need to do everything, get involved in everything. They're too afraid to let go. They're too insecure to let go and let other people take certain things away. The key is be very clear about your role, who you are in the business, and be prepared to let other people and delegate and associate to get people to do what their strengths are. Work to your strengths. It's good to have a lot of knowledge about different things and be aware, know stuff about website, know stuff about policies, know stuff about procedures, know stuff about this stuff as well, but it's also quite useful to be an expert in your field. And it takes a lot of time to be an expert in your field. It doesn't happen overnight. There's misconceptions in society today, instant gratification, everyone wants it now. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. And the reason why I say, who are you in your business, is because I'm going to talk about later. Some people like the idea of being in business, some people like the doing, but we'll talk about that as we go along. Times aren't easy, wherever you are in the world. Okay, the governments might be saying that things are improving and there's growth, they say in the UK and a lot of the countries I've been, but when you really look at the cold hard light day, we're still going through a transitional period. We're still going through a massive transition. Last century was very industrial revolution, 9 to 5, college, uni, job for life. Now it's changing. People are having to be more adaptable. They've got to have to retrain. People got to retrain. 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds even, who aren't going to be able to retire when they thought they're going to retire, have got to retrain. So it's not easy. People are getting laid off. I've met plenty of people through doing what I do, having the business restructure, people, good, hard-working citizens of society being laid off for no other reason other than things have changed. Technology is making a big impact in the world we live in, and things will not go back to where they were before. So we've got to be more adaptable. These skills are essential going forward. Now, businesses fail. These are the stats that I researched in various countries. I was working in America recently, I was reading a journal, And as far as I'm aware, from what I read, 20% of businesses fail within the first year. So they say 50% within 2 or 3, and 90 to 97% fail within however many years, 10 years. Then obviously you get your Woolworths, Kodak, after 50 to 100 years go. So it's not easy in business, and some people end up working for 10 years, but they create a job for themselves. They become they open their own practice as a dentist, they become a physio, they become a personal trainer, but they can't take any time off, and they end up burnt out because if they're not there, it'll fall to pieces. And these are the stats. You can look them up yourself. Don't take my word for it. Yet I'm just giving you some pointers. These are the stats. So if you're not diligent, you're not aware, then it's going to be challenging to get anywhere. And I'm going to look at some key things, and I'm going to share some stuff. Cash flow is really important. Cash flow caused me a lot of issues when I first started, and I realised through a journal I read when I was working in Australia and America, I don't think it's too much different in the UK. A lot of businesses go under because of cash flow problems, the stress of cash flow. If you're not keeping up with cash flow, then you're not going to get very far. You've got to go away, and don't quote me on it. Find someone who's a legal expert in the field how you can make sure you get terms. Because if you don't bring your cash flow, then you're going to struggle. Cash flow is king. You're only as good as the money coming in, and promises. People promising you money. I've been in that situation before. People promising money, the money never comes. So you've got to make sure, if you do nothing else, and you take nothing else away from tonight, if you didn't already know, cash flow is really important. Otherwise, you'll go under. And if you're in business already, you probably can relate to that. You go into the business, then there's a fantastic tip for you. You probably won't hear anywhere, but they probably won't tell you when you study in colleges and all that sort of stuff. But if you don't keep the cash flow coming in and find a way to do that, then you'll go under, and it's tough. It's not easy. I believe, in my opinion, that entrepreneurship should be taught in schools. It's invaluable. The young people out there becoming .com millionaires, they're doing really, really well. There are many opportunities out there. Whilst we've gone through a transitional phase economically, and times are quite challenging in the transition in the face of business, we've got an abundance of opportunities. We're quite lucky to be in a country like the UK, or at least in certain Western countries that I visit. We've got the opportunity to start a business for next to nothing, build a website for next to nothing, go out there and get going straight away. And I believe that young people should be taught to do that, because it's vital. It's vital in the world that we live in that we understand entrepreneurship. And some of the skills that we're going to teach tonight would be invaluable for young people. And young people, naively under young, and if I knew then what I know now, the key is really at that age to go out there and have some sort of strategy. Because a lot of young people out here, well, anyway, these days, they go to uni, and at the end of uni, they've paid all that money. They go to uni, 3 or 4 years, they sacrifice the opportunity to make money, whatever ways they could get in that time frame. They pay money to go, they go to debt for life, and then they don't do anything to do with what they study, which is wrong, really. And as society these days, how many people who study what they intended to do don't end up doing it? Must be a lot of people out there, and I think it's really important in entrepreneurship. It's encouraging young people to at least follow their passion. Not against modern education. Education is important. Education is power. I'm saying get a balance of things. That's another story for another day. Having a plan is key. Making sure you've got a plan. I would never advocate anybody handing in resignation without having a plan, unless you've got billions of pounds in the bank or millions. It's not a good idea. And you might not like the job anyway, or the career that you set yourself up to do. I say phasing yourself into it. Maybe if you're a coach or a therapist, you're going down that road, doing it 1 night a week. And then if you enjoy it and you get the business, 2 nights, and then 2 days, and so on and so forth. And if possible, phase into it. Because there's nothing worse than depending on money in the initial instance. And money soon goes. You can save a ballpark figure up, and you'll see it soon go. So I say to you, save a ballpark figure that will keep you going for a certain amount of time, and also phase yourself into it to make a smooth transition. Obviously, when you go self-employed, or if you start running your own business, you're going to have months that are good, months that aren't as good as they normally are, and that's what key that you've got to budget for. You've got to work out. So you've got to know your business. What is your business? But I would always suggest phase into it. I wouldn't suggest going to one of these motivational seminars, punching the air, oh, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Then you go away, resignation goes in, knock, 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 the gas man or the gas person, the gas woman, whatever. You've got to pay Vodafone, you've got to pay your phone bill, you've got to pay this, you've got to pay mortgage. They're not going to be lenient on you following your passion. Okay, so I say to you, have a plan, a very clear plan of some sort to phase into it if you haven't got the market already in place plus ballpark figures. These are the strategies I've looked at. They're modelling strategies, cutting edge strategies, which are key. NLP, the heart of NLP is modelling excellence. If it's possible to you, possible to me is one of the presuppositions. It's a question of how. So I embarked on a mission to study some of the best business people that I could find. And I'm going to share some of these techniques with you this evening. So get your pen and paper and let's keep going. Look for opportunities out there, and write down any opportunities that you see, anyone that you know that can provide opportunities. And the key for me is not so much the opportunity, is being ready to take the opportunity when it presents itself. Being ready for it. Because most people, the opportunity comes along and it passes them by because they're not ready for it when it arrives. So it's really important that what you do is when the opportunity comes along, you're ready for it. So make sure you are ready to take the opportunity that comes your way. I mentioned earlier, loving what you do. It's really important. If you don't love what you do, then you'll not get very far. What I mean by that is some people like the idea of doing what they do. Some people like the idea of being a pop star, but they don't want to sacrifice or put the effort in learning or playing an instrument or going on tour. Certainly when I used to work in football and I used to be a performance coach, some young people like the idea of being a coach or a footballer, but they didn't want to train, they didn't want to graft, they didn't want to put the effort in. They like the idea of being a footballer and thinking I can drive a nice sports car. Way, say to everyone, way, look at me, my beautiful car. Put the roof down on a nice summer evening and yeah, look at me, swanning around and like the TV, MTV, they've got one girl and with the one arm under the other arm, swanning around and with the cigar, going out clubbing, having a good time. When it comes to training, they want to do it. They didn't want to do it when it comes to training. The ideology, it's idealistic, it doesn't exist that way. Very few footballers achieve that pinnacle anyway. I used to say to the players, you've got to love what you do. And the best footballers in the world, the most passionate ones, I would say, would do it for nothing because they love what they do. So you've got to want to train. So in business, you've got to love what you do to go the extra mile. It's going to be tough. There are times that cash flow is tough. There are times that competition is tough. There are times that, so you've got to love what you do. That's got to get you over the line. It's really important. You've got to believe. What is your belief about business? What is your reality? Remember your belief. Do you believe you can do it? If you're in business, do you believe? I'm asking you a deep question now. Do you believe that you can succeed? And be honest with yourself. Be honest and true to yourself. Can you look yourself in the mirror and do you believe that you can do it? Do you believe your product is a market for it? Has anyone ever bought anything from someone who doesn't believe in their product? Very rarely. It'd be like the person or people on a Sunday afternoon when you're sitting back watching some sport on TV on a leisurely afternoon and they come knocking on the door trying to sell you some whatever it is and they're not, you can see them not buy into it. You're not going to buy. You won't buy a car from someone who doesn't believe in their car. You won't buy a stereo system from someone who doesn't believe in their stereo. You won't buy a product from anyone who doesn't believe in it. Do you believe in what you do? Do you believe in you? Do you believe in your product? These are key questions to ask. If you don't, it's about reassessing the situation. If there's a lack of belief because of experience, then it's about working on yourself and working on strategies. I've got some strategies you can watch on YouTube and Ustream that helps with belief and some material you can have for nothing and take what you want out of it. But the key for me and for anyone is their self-belief. Every person I've studied who's been successful in the business world and every book I've read, they've got a high degree of self-belief and they believe themselves when nobody else will as well. And even when the people they're doing it for don't believe in them, they believe in themselves and their product. Even when the product's not even out on the market, they're out there. And I say to you, go and read all the biographies, all the people who've gone on to do really well in the business world, in the eyes of society, and you'll see that they believe in themselves and their product. And they might have had rejection after rejection and failure, and all they did is kept going. That's the key to all of it. Believing what you do. Really important. In the world we live in, the speed of change. People these days, they go to the bank manager and sit down and work on a business plan. I'm not against business plan and planning and having a goal and phasing into it, but if you're going to leave yourself and write a plan out, the speed of change. What's in now could be out in a few months' time. Technology has moved things really, really fast. 15, 20, 30 years ago, you could sit down with a cup of coffee and do your plan and 5 and 10. This day you've got to be adaptable to market demand. You've got to be adaptable, you've got to be flexible, you've got to be more than one hat, and the ability to serve and create as much value as you possibly can. The speed of change, and we carry on changing. In my generation, when I went to school, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have computers, we didn't have phones. I had to re-educate myself and learn a lot of those things because I would have been left behind. I would have been left behind. And the key for me, doing these things like Ustream and YouTube, and that wasn't around when I was growing up. That wasn't even around when I was in business at first. But you've got to sometimes re-educate yourself. And that's before knowledge is power. What do you need to learn? Because the speed of change. I don't think in 10 years, what will I need to learn as well? Next year, the way things are going to go. Change is imminent. Can you keep up with change? That's the key. So if you're going to sort of dawdle, like I see a lot of people that first come work for me, with me, and I help them build their business, the first thing they talk about is their plan, their 20-year plan, which is great to have to a certain degree, but I tell them, you've got to go out there, but tomorrow never arrives. They're waiting forever, and then they're going to test trade, well, I'll wait for next year, wait till I do this, wait till I do that. The key is to get out there and do it. You've got to have an exit strategy as well. At what point do you exit strategy? When do you stage left and go in a different direction? What I mean by that, a guy I was working with a year ago, he was opened up chains, fast food chain, franchising, and he got to about 15, 16 chains of a fast food franchise, and the issue he had in his 50s was that he thought his son was going to take over the business, but he had no inclination of taking the business over. So the trouble that this guy had was the fact that in his mid-50s, he was 15, 16 businesses of the same fast food chain, and some were hemorrhaging money, not doing very well. And to sell, you've got to find a suitable buyer. It's not as easy as that to let go. And his son didn't want it, so he couldn't think for the life of him. The pressure he was under, immense pressure, thinking the son doesn't want it. If I don't sell all these businesses, at what point do I stop? What are the options? So we had to have a very clear strategy. What do you do? Yeah, leave a legacy. I intend working, doing what I do for as long as I possibly can. I've worked 100 years doing what I love what I do, but I say to you in business, have a strategy in your own mind. Okay, have a clear strategy in your own mind, because if you don't have that, you get stuck in a situation where it becomes very, very challenging. In the case of that guy, with the restructure, and he started in the end to start selling certain, well, potentially selling some of the chains or some of the franchises bit by bit and make them more manageable, because he thought more was going to be more income, but sometimes less is more. Scaling it down, because in the end, if his son doesn't want it, what's he going to do? Work to 200 years of age and never get rid of them? What's going to happen there? So think about your exit strategy. You're going to carry on doing it. How long will you do it? What's the plan? I can honestly say I'll do what I do no matter what. I love what I do. I'd do it if I was a multi-trillionaire. I would still carry on doing what I do because I love it. I love it, and I know that you love what you do. But all I would say personally is that if you're going to go into any store, any sort of industry, have some sort of exit strategy in mind. Who are your customers? Who are your customers? Write it down. If you don't know, go away and do the research. Because some people, like I said earlier, they want to be all things to all people, but where they fail miserably is they don't find their niche. And who is your target market? Who is it? Who are you going to set your stall at? When I first went into business, people said to me, Jim, you a business? Are you sure? I said, well, I'll put my stall out. I won't be for everybody, but I'm sure if I can create enough value in certain people's lives, then I'll find my market. And that's the key to all of it, finding your market. Who are your customers? Who's going to buy from you? Be very clear about that. And then obviously you're going to be advertising budget, you're going to spend any time marketing what you do, you want to find who's going to buy from you. What's the life cycle of your business? How long will it last? You know, these days, the trend is online and internet, and I'm sure that's great. I'm sure it will be here for a long time to come. Yeah, possibly, I don't know. But what I would say, do you know your life cycle? Has it got a life cycle? Every business has got a life cycle. I mentioned earlier the businesses that end up going under. Look at Kodak, for example. They didn't keep up with the times, and then they went bust, didn't they? Because Kodak, take a picture, print it, that's gone really now, isn't it? It's all digital age. Now, a lot of businesses don't know their life cycle. Apple, if you study Apple, you'll find that they nearly went bust, but what they did is they reinvented themselves and found a life cycle and carry on reinventing themselves. And that's the key for anything, knowing your life cycle. At least be able to predict that and study it and learn. So I ask you, what's the life cycle of your business? You're going into coaching and therapy, and it's obviously a little bit different because you're writing more of a service, but what I would say, will it change? Do I need to add stuff to what I do? I, as a therapist, am not the same therapist I was when I first started. I had a lot of skills to my skill set. I carried on studying a lot of courses and carried on doing what I did. I wasn't academic at school, but I would end up studying a lot when I finished and beyond school, because you never stop learning. I still study now, because if you work from the frame skill set you were 20, 30 years ago, then that's the knowledge you've got. You've got to keep learning, keep learning new stuff, to keep with the times is key. How are you different? What differentiates you from everybody else? What is different about you? You want to be a coach, there's 1,000 coaches out there. What are you going to do different? You're going to sell a service, whatever it is, you want to sell a product. How are you different from everybody else? Why should I buy from you? Why should anyone buy from you? How are you going to be different to everybody else? And that's key. Really finding a selling point. How am I different? There's enough room for everybody. There's enough room for everybody to do what they really want to do, to find their passion. I think what's really important is to make sure that we all complement each other. How are you different? What is your story? What angle are you going to take going into the business doing what you do? How can you add value? How can you go the extra mile? That's the key to business. How can you add value? What can you add for value? One of my key elements of being a coach, I will add as much value as I possibly can because I want to see you succeed. If you get to where you want to get to, I'll get where I want to get to. It's a shared venture, isn't it? That's the key to all of it. So how can you add value? What can you offer? Can you offer aftercare as a coach? Can you offer exercise? Can you offer seminars, groups? If you're offering a product, what can you add that nobody else is adding? What can you add to improve their life? And focus on the customer. How can you go the extra mile? This day and age, we live in a generation where a lot of people want instant gratification. It's almost like the customer's doing them a favour. They're not. The customer's not doing you a favour. You are there to serve them. That's the way it is. The coach, I'm there to serve you as my client, customer, associate, and buyer, and I'll do the very best I can to support you no matter what. It's an honour to work for you. It's a privilege, is the way I see it. I sometimes do courses in hotels, and sometimes the staff, they have a lot to be desired from. It's like it's an effort to serve you. I was in a function recently doing a course, and I wanted to get a cup of coffee, as you do in the morning, and there's nowhere to be seen. And I'm like, I just want a cup of coffee here. Half an hour, I've got a course that's starting, I'm ready to get rock and roll. And I shout the way, I said, excuse me, and it's no fault of his own, because they're short staffed, no doubt. I was quite polite, as I'm really sorry. I said, listen, no fault of your own, but it is a reflection of business. And don't get me wrong, we'll have days where we're not game head on, we don't do the best that we can. Everyone has that, young human being. As a general rule, consistency is key. So how can you add value? That is key. And look at the most successful chains in the area. They add value. They give you more. They give you more, and they give, and they give, and they give. And they're grateful giving. They're grateful. Be grateful to do what you do. I never take for granted what I do, and I'm grateful for having the privilege to do and help people doing what I do. If it doesn't work plan A, then stay cool. There's plenty of letters in the alphabet, 24 might be precise. No successful person was, in my opinion, successful first time. Sometimes you fail, you get feedback, if you want to call it failure. If you first don't succeed, then pick yourself up and try again. That's the key. Being resilient, really, really, really important. You've got to keep it going. You've got to keep going. And time is your biggest asset, how you spend your time. Even the most richest, wealthiest financial person in the world can't buy a minute time back. So how you spend your time? Everyone has the same amount of hours every day. I'm sure we all have different commitments. Some of you probably out there saying, well, Jim, I've got 2 kids bringing up on my own, whatever your situation, I don't know it. In saying that, we've all got the same amount of time. How we delegate time is key. So use your time wisely. And what I do and suggesting is like a weekly plan. And on your plan, it doesn't have to be as rigid and meticulous as this. You can have this if you want. I can email it to you if you want it. But have an idea of what you're going to do and when, to make sure you do what's necessary, because it's key. But you never want to get too busy to make sure that you forget to make a life for yourself, because life is short. So when you're doing a weekly plan, make sure you have time outs. Make sure in your weekly plan you have time when you block it out for your family, because your family is the most important thing, no doubt. You want to be spending time. You don't want to pick up phone halfway through, pushing your son, your daughter on the swing and the phone, or kicking football in the park. There's a time and place for everything, really. That's the key to all of it. So making sure that you have time. Being in the present is the biggest gift you can give anybody. If I deliver a course, I'm there 100%. And the reason I can do that is because I'm focused on planning. Plan every week, get an idea of what you're going to do. If you've got to go to a meeting, and say to yourself at the close of play next week, would I be happy having done this during the week? And if you're not, then plan again, which is key, because your life is important. Goals are really important, but without a plan, it's just a wish. Plenty of wishful thinkers out there. We're going to look at a strategy shortly about how you can get yourself to where to get to. The key is, and one of the things I use, and this is where we keep it interactive, I can email you this if you want it, it's entirely up to you, is have an outcome planner. Be very outcome focused. The most successful people in business are very outcome focused. Very clear when you plan your day and your week. Every night I'll plan my day the following day. The reason why I plan my day is because mentally, if I plan my day, what it's doing is before I go to bed at night, my subconscious mind is going to work on that, as well as to navigate myself through. So you guys still plan on a daily basis as well, because time is the biggest key that you've got when you go in business. Use it wisely. So I'm going to talk you through a strategy technique I use. It's not exhaustive, by the way. Take what you want out of it. The first one we do is 5 things. If you've got a project that you're working on, you're in the business at the moment, you want to be a coach, a therapist, or you've got a new business you're starting, you're in business, I want you to think of 5 things to move things forward. Okay, you might need a website, you might need to arrange a meeting, you might need to meet your bank manager, you might need to meet someone who's doing what you're already doing for a meeting, but write down 5 things. If you haven't done it, write down 5 things. It's not exhaustive. Write down 5 things to move things forward. You can't think of 5, think of 1, come back to it later. That's the key. Because when you're in the driving seat, what do I need to do to move things forward? Think about it. What do I need to do? What are key things? People end up being busy doing nothing. I've seen it when I first went into business, these networking groups, people swanning around, their champagne and party sausage roll and swanning around and talking away and whatever, but then it's all right for the person who works for a company which they're employed, but you're working for yourself, you can't afford to waste time faffing about. You've got to be very clear how you use your time. So what do I need to do? What's the point of speaking to someone who can't help you get from A to B? Waste of time. You've got to go into areas that you can help yourself move forward. Time is precious. And I'm sure you'd rather be doing other things than just swanning around and messing about, which is key. Which people do you need to reach out to? Write down a list of people you've got to connect with. I sometimes feel when I've got to phone someone up, director of a company or football manager, whatever it is really, sometimes you feel a bit apprehensive at first. We're all human beings, you think how they're going to respond. But you know what? They're only human being like anybody else. Everyone's human. So I want you to write down tomorrow, who do you need to phone? Make it your job to phone them. Make it your job to connect to them, email them, call them, do whatever it takes. You can't do things on your own. Go out there and connect with people, which is key. How and who do you need to reach out to is a really important element to business, which is key. Everyone's just a human being. You've got to contact somebody you're waiting on. And the key is contact. Who are you waiting on? You've got a web designer hasn't built your website. Are you waiting for some news information? Now, what do you need? Who are you waiting on to do what they need to do? Are you waiting on an invoice being paid? You overdue some money? Then get in touch. Don't go out and check the post every day to see if the checks come in the post, or check the account every day and puff and puff and where's your money and whatever. Call them and find out, excuse me, politely, and say, okay, I did the work, the terms, could you kindly pay it? Or whatever you need to do. Who are you waiting on? Really important to get in touch. You've got someone who's got some work doing, then get in touch. Really, really important that you do that and you get in touch. You're waiting on answers, get in touch. Don't leave it there and hope one day if you put a tender in, you don't know the result of the tender, then get in touch. Excuse me, can you please tell me how or where I stand on the submission that I sent in? You've got to know where you stand. You can't live on hope and fresh air to move forward. List the things that you need to do to move forward. Do you need to finish your website? Is that a priority? Do you need to get your product into a store? Do you need to contact the high street store to get some new product you've put together in there? What do you need to do to move forward? List the people who are going to move your business forward, the mover and shakers of the world. Do you need to contact the director of a company? Do you need to meet someone who's doing what you want to do? Who do you need to contact to move things forward? That's the key. Write it down. I said I was going to keep this really interactive, and if you're not interacting with me, then you're not going to get a lot out of it. So interact, give it a go. You're not accountable. I'm not saying I have all the answers yet. You might do one thing tonight, like a lot of people who've done it on my seminars. They go away, email me saying, Jim, I took one piece of advice and it helped me make a massive difference. And that's the key. Priorities are key. What are your priorities tomorrow and beyond? What do you need to do? There's plenty of people who hijack your time, but the time stealers. The ones who call you up at midday. Hi, did you watch the latest episode of whatever? Did you watch this? Did you watch the football? And I'm all for watching sport and watching film documentaries. It's all got this place. You've got things to do as priority. Priority is the key. No one's going to put food on your table, and you're certainly not going to do anything for your business, swanning around, quarterbacking away, drifting along, and whatever. What are your priorities? What do? Do you decide that you take off to the local shopping centre on a nice day? You decide, you know what, I won't bother working today, I'll go to the beach and have a good time. Do you decide that, you know, I'll just chill out today and just relax, whatever? There's a time and place for everything, and sometimes it's nice to break the pattern, but he's saying that if it becomes consistent. The key is, what are the priorities? And stick the priority. You'll enjoy a lot more when you've done what you need to do. Getting the balance is key. That's why the weekly plan is really important. You know, if you're scheduled to do something in a certain time, you go away and do that. But when you've got a job to do, you've got to do it. And these are key. What are your priorities? Do you need the website out? Are you waiting for the guy who did the person doing the website for you for months on end? It's not ready. Your product range, whatever you're waiting for. What is happening? Get on the phone. Make it happen. Tell them, you know what? I need to get things moving here. What are priorities? Really important that you do that, which is key. Remember that the first step, every 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step. You might think, okay, I'm a long way away from being where I want. I don't know what you want for your business. You might want to be multinational. You might be a corporation. You might just want to have make a job for yourself. I don't know what you want out of life, but every journey starts with its first step. Some people say to me, Jim, I'd love to do what you're doing. It's awesome. They don't realise how long it took me to get to where I was, and all the things I did to get there. I'm not saying it's going to take everyone the same time to do what I do, but you've got to be willing to take with a t-shirt. I think I used to work in football, just like me, Jim, I'd love to be coaching at the level you're at, the young, we used to take on board the young work experienced people, we used to take on board, and I'd love to be doing what you do, without realising that it takes a long time to get there. You've got to know where to strike, you've got to get out there, get it now sometimes. I love to do what you do, and I tell people, work in the amateur game, go out there, work, do stuff, whatever it takes. When I first started working in football, I'd do jobs for free to prove my worth and get there. And that's the key. It's how bad do you want it. It's you've got to have a strong enough why. Doing what I do, it takes sometimes jobs. I used to take jobs on for next to nothing just to get foot in the door. I'm not saying that everyone to do that. I'm saying that for everyone to go away and do that. But the key thing is do what you got to do to get in the door. Look at distractions. Eliminate distractions. And these are really important. Distractions, that time stealers, I call them. And they're very easy to get hung up on, time stealers. Personal phone calls throughout the day because you got, can't be bothered doing what you do. So I'll call an old friend, personal email, getting on there, and social media, and spending time, and who's doing what, and who's doing whatever. Instant messenger, irrelevant meetings. You sit down and think, I like to look at that person. I'll meet with them. These are all time stealers. They won't get to where you get to. Eliminate them. To a certain extent. I'm not saying that's not nice having downtime. There's a time and place for the personal call, time and place for the social media, time and place for the personal email. There's a time and place to roll your sleeves up and get to work as well, which is key if you're going to go in business. Eliminate, and I say to you now, what are some of these low value tasks that you're doing? Not bringing anything in and you're getting hung up on it. What can you eliminate? What is more? Would you rather spend 2 hours in the evening on social media or 2 hours in the evening doing a coaching session, doing a talk in a school, studying your own networking group, studying a course? The key is up to you. I'm not saying not to go on social media, maybe spend a few minutes on it, 15, 20 minutes on it, but then the other time is key. Would you rather network with people who are going to help you get from A to B, or do you want to just meet whoever for the sake of meeting them? That's the key. Your proximity is really important. Your network is your net worth. The people you hang around with, the 5 people you hang around with during the week generally become you. So it's really important. If you want to achieve anything, find people who are where you want to go. It's not always easy. You're probably saying, Jim, but I've got people in my family that are a certain way, whatever. We've all got that, no doubt. But I'm saying stretch yourself. Now go out there and join mastermind groups, join speaking groups, all that sort of stuff really, because it's quite useful to find people who've got the same vision you have. And that's the key. The vision is key. You want to be a speaker, join a speaking group and hang around people who want to be speakers. It makes a lot of sense to do what you want to do. That's really important. Hang around people who've got no drive and no ambition, then they'll infect your head. Attitude's contagious. Really important. Before you say yes to others, don't say no to yourself. You want to be goody two-shoes and say yes to everybody, you can't say no, then nobody's going to look after your paycheck. Sometimes you've got to say no. People say, oh well, would you like to come and play five-a-side on Monday? Yeah, okay. Would you like to come watch a film on Tuesday? Would you like to go to the beach on Wednesday? Would you like to do whatever? on this other day, yeah, it'd be nice in an ideal world, and we all need time to decompress and let go, but there are certain times you've got to say, okay, no, I've got to look after my business. I've got to put things in place. I've got a big exam next week. I've got a course next week. I've got to prepare a presentation next week. Sometimes you've got to say no. That's just the way it is. It's really important. You say yes to everybody, and then you're not focused on what you're doing, which is key. Doesn't matter how many no's you get, you just need one yes. So if you're knocking on doors, eventually someone's going to say yes. Persistence beats resistance. Really important. Persistence will always beat resistance. It only takes one yes. One yes is all it takes, and then the floodgates open and you're on the way. A year from now, you'll wish you started today. Some people put things off. Someday I'll do it. Next year, when this is this. When I know I said earlier about making sure it's the right cycle, the right season, all the rest of it. Yet I also suggest that if it is and everything's, all the stars align themselves, then go for it. Make hay while the sun shines. There's never a better time than having a goal when you're ready. Take action, which is key. I'm going to quick process now and ask you some questions. Going to keep it really interactive. And like I said, this is the sort of stuff I do when I work with people in business and have done for a while now. If you come to my courses, you know how I work. If you're a client of mine, you know how I work. If you're not, you can take things away, whatever you want. But where are you now in your business? And just write it down. I'm going to work at a pretty rapid speed because of time, and also I want to make sure you get a true subconscious answer, and also you can come back and work on it and your own time, your own pace. And where do you want to be? So where are you now? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be global? Do you want to see 20 clients a week? Do you want to have your product in the supermarket? What do you want from the business? State the positive. What do you want? What I mean by positive, not very positive. If I say I don't think a blue giraffe, the unconscious mind can't process that. What do you want? Do you see 20 clients a week, paying X amount of money? Do you want your product to be in a high street store? Do you want to see so many clients? Do you want to... what exactly do you want? The clearer you are, the better. Really important. And what are you going to do with it forward? What are you going to do to take steps towards achieving your dream? Really important to do that. And if you can do one thing and one thing only, I say, is what emotion will you experience when you are living your dream and your passion. So close your eyes now very briefly and imagine you're living your dream. If you don't mind, close your eyes. And what will you see, hear and feel? We process through our senses, so we process information through our senses. What will you see? What will you hear? What are the colours? What are the sounds? What are the feelings? Where are the feelings? Let the emotions spread for every cell of your body. What will you emotionally feel when you're doing what you want to do? If you're that coach you want to be, the trainer, if you want to work on TV, if you want to do whatever it is you want to do, what will you feel? If you're going to start a business selling product, what will you feel? What will it be like? If you're going to be a speaker traveling the world, what will you feel emotionally when you achieve that? Is it what you really want? I mentioned earlier about the cross-examination, some people like the idea of it, some like the doing. Okay, so think about it. Is it right for you at this moment in your life? Do you really want it? What will it mean? What will it cost you going for the goal? It's almost like a cost-benefit analysis, the consequences of achieving. Everything comes with a price. You start a business now, it might mean seeing your kids less, but in 5 years you can send them to a good school. So you've got to weigh things up. Do you really want it? Do you really want it? What's the downside? Will it impact your health, your relationships? Will it conflict in other areas of your life? Is it achievable? This is where you want to cross-examine your goal and think, is it what I really want to achieve? Is it in my heart of hearts? Okay, and what resources do you have to achieve your goal? What do you need? Who will you have to become to achieve your goal? What resources do you have? You might have a phone, a computer, all these things that we didn't have all these years ago. Do you know anyone who's achieved your goal? Can you speak to them, model them? Have you done it before? These are key things. Do you know anyone who else has achieved that? These are key questions to think about. Okay, what resources do you have? Almost like a skills gap. What resources do you need? Remember, you are your greatest asset. Yet in saying that, 2 minds are better than one. So finding people who are where you want to be is quite useful as well. Finding people. So ask yourself these questions. They're very powerful questions. Now find what resources do you need. And how will you know? I'm sure what you're doing now was once a goal, if not consciously, subconsciously. How will you know when you get there? How will you know when you've achieved your goal? It's like climbing a mountain. Achieving the goal is one thing, achieving the dream is one thing, but the journey is what counts for me. It's not so much getting to the top of the mountain, it's the view when you get there, but also the climb is key. Okay, so how will you know when you've achieved your dream? How will you know? Now, I mentioned earlier about it's great having a dream and a goal and your passion, but never forget to make a life for yourself. You start getting consumed by the dream, the goal, the passion, you forget that the big picture in life. There are equally as many things important in life than doing what we love to do. I think it's really important getting a balance. And also I suggest to congratulate yourself for having a goal. And business is challenging. It's easy to look for what people say is the easy way out, but the easy way out becomes the hard way in the end because life is short and some people think they're going to live for an eternity. We got a sell-by date in life. No one lives forever, and as long as no one lives forever, you make sure when you're here you maximise what you love to do. I always love the following quote: "It's really crazy enough to think they can change the world, the ones that often do. The ones who sort of sit there, who criticise everybody else, the ones that get very fast. And they move the world forward. We need more people like you, dreamers, doers, people who think big, entrepreneurs. That's what's needed in the world that we live in today." And it's always today's a perfect day. Why not start today? I don't know where you are in your life. I don't know what you do. I don't know what situation is. I don't know what your aim is. But I say to you, if you take one step and one step only, watching the seminar this evening, I congratulate you because it's taken a big step forward and learning a few bits and pieces. I might have covered stuff you've heard before. I might have covered new stuff. The way I covered it was interactive, so you could take a lot away. And I did it deliberately because I can sort of talk and talk as much as you want me to talk, but in the end, theory will only get so far. Practical is key to all of it. Giving you strategies. Now you do what you want with the strategies, entirely up to you. You can revisit it, you can learn, take what you will. And I always say today is always a great time to start your dream. Why wait 10 years? Take one step. You want to write a book, put pen to paper. If you want to travel the world, be a speaker, if you want to open a disadvantaged school somewhere, whatever your dream is, start today. And you might have 3 kids and be a single parent. I don't know what the situation is. You might be married with 2 kids. You might be a multi-millionaire. I don't know what the situation is in your life. I don't know what it is. But I know from working with many people over many years, people defy the odds. No matter who they are, what the situation is, it's the person who thinks big and dreams. We all know stories of people who have defied all the odds. It's not the most intelligent people academically and the arts of society. It's the ones who've got the passion, the desire, the why and the plan to go forward. I've really enjoyed delivering tonight's seminar. It's been a short space of time to cover a lot of contact. Be free to contact me. We're on social media. It's like social media probably today, but in moderation, do log on to social media if you want to watch this again and then make it available on Twitter, and email me. Share your success story. If you've got a success story, then you're more than welcome to share it. Any resources you want, you can have the presentation, you can keep it. I'm going to email you some resources if you want me to. I'm more than happy and do what you want with the resources. I've been privileged to work with some of the best businesses and top business people over many years. I'm sure that you can take something away from me. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do have some good strategies that I can use. And my passion is helping people. I genuinely want to help people. I think it's really important because if you can't help someone, then what else is there to life? What else is there to life if you can't leave some sort of legacy to someone, to sit under a tree you planted that you'll never sit under? I think it's really important. I think for the world to go around and the world to be a great place for people, it's all about helping and all about being there for each other. Because life is short. We're only here for a short time in the grand scheme of things. I think it's really important to connect with people. I love connecting with people. I love helping people. I think people, as a general rule, heart's in the right place. There's some great people out there. And I think the more you can help people, the better the world will be, the better place it will be. So I wish you every success in your future endeavours. Do keep in touch. Do email me on any of the details on here. Thank you and have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of the beautiful evening. Good night.